Yes. This is an essay called Views on Sterilization, and as always, I don't mind civil debates, but keep the name calling and whatnot off of my page or you will be deleted. Thank you. Sterilization is not a procedure to be taken lightly. For all intents and purposes, though some modern methods can be reversed, it should always be considered permanent. That said, it's my firm belief that certain groups should be sterilized. This includes those who will pass on life-threatening and or debilitating diseases to their offspring, the severely mentally retarded, drug users who refuse to undergo counseling and rehabilitation, and those with a history of abuse towards children and or partners, and also animals. I didn't include that, but I'm including it now. Having a disability is no fun, and this is especially true for children. No one in their right minds would ever say, I can't wait to have a child so that he or she can have the same disability as me. Yet there are actually people who, knowing that they will pass on a potentially life-threatening disease, choose to have children. Even in cases wherein it won't threaten the life of the child, it could still be so debilitating that the child will never grow into an adulthood of promise and possibility, but rather into one of pain and suffering. Ordinarily, I would tell a pregnant woman to at least have the fetus tested for signs of any serious complications, whether or not she chooses to know the gender of the child. Should such abnormalities be found and determined to be severe enough, I would immediately advise the woman to have an abortion. But in cases wherein it's very clear that such a child would definitely be the outcome of a pregnancy, I believe strongly that the person should be sterilized. I say person because it might be the father with the disease. In that way, they can continue to have sex without having to worry about getting or making someone pregnant. But if they are able to take care of a child, their desire to be parents is still strong, and the odds of one or both of them remaining alive for a decent amount of time are strong, I see no reason in the world why they can't adopt. If you're meant to be a parent and love children so much, why do they need to be your own, and why must you have a child simply to say it's yours when you know that he or she will suffer his whole life? I'm stepping away from the essay for a moment to add this. I find it truly appalling and upsetting that people who are disabled, and again, I'm not referring to severely disabled, but they might just be blind or deaf or whatnot, even especially if it's just one partner in a relationship and not both, I find it very sad and that they have such difficulties with adopting a child. If it can be proven that they can be good parents and that they can take care of children, and again, especially if one of the partners is not disabled, then it really should not matter, and they should be able to adopt. And those who have chosen not to have children because of a severe disability that might be created if a child were to be born to them, I think should also have the fees waived or reduced or whatnot if they choose to adopt, because they've just managed to save the world and to save a potential child from extreme pain and whatnot by choosing not to have him or her. And returning to the essay now. But what happens when the person involved doesn't even understand sex or gets the basics but can't take care of a child? I'm talking about the mentally retarded and the mentally disabled who are functional and not dangerous, but still unable to care for a child. In the first case, we again have the possibility of the child turning out like the parents, which is truly undesirable. Here, the child isn't physically ill, but will never be able to grasp the basic things in life, or if his or her parents were a bit more sharp, they'll be able to do that, but again, won't be able to handle such a responsibility as parenthood. If such people have children, who will take care of them? They will end up in foster homes or group or nursing homes if they are severely retarded, where they may be abused, neglected, etc. In any of these cases, taxpayers' monies must be used to care for them, and they will never be able to lead normal lives or contribute anything to society. The same is true for the mentally ill. While they may understand things, if the right kinds of genes mix, we could also wind up with a killer, or again, someone who can't take care of him or herself and must be institutionalized, leading to the above problems. Again, as an add-on, I did not mention this, but I'm also concerned about these people being abused in institutions. I know they said neglected, but They could also be severely harmed and whatnot, and if they are that mentally disabled, they wouldn't be able to explain it. Or they could be frightened into saying, don't tell anyone what I did to you, or someone you love is going to die, or you're going to die, or we're going to take away your favorite stuffed animal, whatever gets to them. So that these poor people are constantly abused and are either unable to say what's going on or are afraid to do so. No one should ever have to live like that. And back to the essay again. We now come to serious drug users. I'm not talking about those who smoke some pot every once in a while, but those who do seriously dangerous things like heroin, cocaine, and LSD and so on, who refuse to get help, to go through rehabilitation and to quit or even to attempt to do so. Here, I'm not speaking from my hat, but from my own personal experience. My biological mother was a heroin addict, and I lived with the consequences of her actions every day of my life. I was born 2 months premature, so needed to be put in an incubator until I was fully developed. When I was 2 months old, it was discovered that I was totally blind due to retinopathy of prematurity, ROP. At the time, the doctor said that it was likely due to a blow to the head, but more likely, as with so many other children born in the 80s, I was given too much oxygen. Thankfully, I'm only blind, but I know of several others with extremely severe disabilities as a result of their parents doing drugs. So while I respect a person's right to ruin his or her own life, that doesn't give him or her the right to inflict such damage on children, and I do feel that if they're that serious about not quitting or seeking help, they should be sterilized. The same holds true for alcoholics, since that can also cause horrendous birth defects and disabilities. Perhaps the threat of being sterilized will help clean up some of these people. There is a third group here which is extremely dangerous and which should never be allowed to have or to take care of children. These are abusers. Whether they've abused children, animals, the elderly, or their partners, they've absolutely no place among children, let alone having them. It is true that perhaps some of these can be rehabilitated, and in the less serious cases I would always try that. If, after a few years of being watched closely, it is determined that they are safe, then I would take them off the sterilization list. But if they are found breaking the rules, particularly if it's in a truly brutal way, I would push them to the top, skip the evaluation, and sterilize them immediately. There's one final group which, too often, falls through the cracks when discussing this issue. Many people may try to deny it, but there are those who actually volunteer to be sterilized. Most are probably thinking, sure, I know about them. They are the guys who have a few kids or the women who are through having them. Unfortunately, this is the response of many doctors as well. Consider this, at 27, a woman is old enough to work, drive, vote, drink alcohol, gamble, buy a house, join the military where she can get killed, and decide to have children. Yet many doctors will still tell her that she's too young to decide not to have them at all. When I went to my doctor and explained my situation, demonstrated that I've done my research, and confirmed that I didn't want to ever have my own children, my doctor was very understanding and agreed to help me achieve sterility. She even listened when I explained that upon conducting more research, I wanted to go for tubal ligation and not for Escher. But not everyone is as lucky, and the laws need to be changed to protect those over 18 but under 30 so that they can make informed decisions and not be criticized. This also means that there should never be forced signing of papers that women or men think are for other things, so that those who don't wish to be sterilized and are not criminals or ill can be saved. Those who do wish to undergo the procedure also need to be told that this is a permanent decision, and while it theoretically can be reversed, if they are thinking along those lines now, it really is best if they waited and used another form of contraception. All of that said, there are some clearly inappropriate and horrible uses for sterilization that I will never support. These include sexual orientation, race, ethnicity, religion, gender, income, and or manageable disabilities, such as deafness, blindness, and the like. The same, with the exception of income, holds true for abortion. That is, fetuses should never be aborted just because of these reasons, though there may be others in considerations. and some, like religion, can't be determined anyway. I don't mean what they're born into, I mean what they become later on, because of course you're never necessarily born into a religion. It's not, biological that you can never change. In conclusion, I feel that the proper use of sterilization is well justified, and that state-funded programs should be started and or continued or modified to aid in the process. It's for the betterment of society, the economy, and the potential children and parents. One final note away from the essay, now that it is concluded. I do think that those parents who choose to sterilize should be counseled and whatnot, just as those who choose to undergo sterilization naturally. Like, in other words, not parents, but if you know that your child will have a disability and you choose to become sterile, you should still receive the same explanation of permanency as those who choose it just because they don't want children. But in other cases, such as, like I said, the mentally retarded, the severely disabled and whatnot, the mentally ill, especially criminally so, I don't think that they should be given a choice at all. It just needs to be done. And but tests definitely need to be put in place, proper medical testing from an unbiased source to ensure that the system is not abused and someone is not sterilized just because of race or whatnot. That did happen in the past, and that's not excusable. It needs to be truly secure that this person is indeed really mentally incompetent or criminally ill or will pass on a disability. So anyway, that's my essay.